Hi, Mark from Remark Buyers Agency. How you going? Okay, so I just thought I'd have a chat in regards to how I did it. Once I had my relationship adjustment and I was given the opportunity to live very, very cheaply for a year, the first thing I did is I created a budget that allowed me to have as much leftover money as possible. The next thing I did was I took $3,000 that I had saved up and I put that into FMG shares. As I saved up more money, $1,000 here, $2,000 there, I added it to the shares so that I compounded the effect of that. The next thing I did is I paid off $25,000 worth of debts that I had at the time, got rid of those within the course of the year and managed to save up around $10,000 worth of FMG shares. Went 3 times, so I took my roughly around about $10,000 worth up to around about $30,000 to $40,000 worth. I got to researching what the best properties were. The method I used was fairly simplistic at the time. It was trying to find a property within my budget around $200,000. I had around $30,000 or so. I needed to put on a 10% deposit with around $5,000 worth of expenses and stamp duties. All up, I think I spent just over maybe $30,000. Okay, so looking for a property that needs a bit of work, one that I can buy under market value. So as one suburb comes up, it generally brings up the neighbouring suburbs as well. In Tate Street, Armidale being the next property, I was looking at Pariah Waters, pushing out its boundaries towards Armidale. The next thing I did was, once I purchased the property, I offered $30,000 under market value. The property needed about $10,000 worth of work done on it. It was in an emerging suburb. Was to rent out 2 of the rooms of the 4. It was a 4x2x2, less than 10 years old. I did the work on the property, rented out 2 of the rooms and increased the value of the property. I was already using the property partially as an investment. Within about 12 months, the property had gone up enough money to purchase property number 2. This time I didn't really use much of my money at all. Probably about $5,000 was all I used of my own money. This is where the process basically gets simpler, because all you're doing is rolling over the equity from the previous properties into buying the next one. So basically all the hard work has already been done. So I saved up $3,000, I invested the $3,000, I used the proceeds of the investment to purchase the first property. With a little bit of cash, I then purchased the second property, waited another 12 months, pulled out equity off the first and second property to buy the third property. My partner at the time, and started following the same process. At that point, we were now 3 properties into it, so she got into buying property. Year number 3, the equity rolled over, but this time we set up a self-managed super fund. At the same time, we built a discretionary trust. Now, the discretionary trust we never used, simply because the better option was the self-managed super fund. Okay, so at that point, we now were purchasing properties 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And around 6 months after that, I purchased property number 11 at the end of the 5th year. So now we were 11 properties in and 5 years. So that equates to $6.5 million worth of property, and the equity on those properties was around $2.5 million. So we owned $2.5 million worth of a $6.5 million portfolio. We stopped at that point because I'm getting ready for retirement. All of this is aligned with my retirement plan. Mine was so that I can retire at 60. And we let the equity build up to $3.5 million. Then we started the process of selling down. So now we are $3.5 million worth of equity in the property until we own 4 properties, which will leave us around about $1 million in the bank for share trading, $250,000 worth of passive income. So we saved up $3,000, we pulled our money together, we built a self-managed super fund, we bought 11 properties over the course of 5 years. The process is to sell down, which we're still in the process of doing, until we own 4 or 5 of those properties. Also leaves us money left over to put into a share trading account that gives us $250,000. So that's basically the process. It's a repeatable process, and it all starts with a phone call. Remark Buyers Agency. Give us a call. I love to chat about property. We can have a talk about getting you underway and following the process. Thank you.